Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to an amazing conversation that we're going to have on tonight. Listen, you are in for a really, really great treat. Here at NexGen, we have some awesome members from our team on tonight, and I am really excited shouting out for our boomer babes. I call them Auntie Dana and Auntie Robin. I am so glad they're here. For our Gen X, we have Damon, Holland, and then I am representing for the millennials on tonight, Ariel. Speak. So I'm really excited. You guys are just going to see in a second. Go ahead, like, love, and share. We're going to have a really great conversation about me Inc. And so monetary education is going to be amazing on tonight. So let's get into this intro. And then the next amazing persons that you'll see are those of the NexGen team. So go ahead, share this right now, and let's get started. Well, guys, we hope that you feel welcome. We're going to learn about some amazing things on tonight. And so, really quickly, the amazing team is here. Some of our amazing team is here. So, everyone, Damon, go ahead and say hey to the people. Oh, unmute. There you go.
That mute always get me. But hey, how everybody doing? Again, my name is Damon Holland. I'm down here in Charleston, South Carolina.
Awesome. Next, we have Auntie Robin. Say hello to the people.
Greetings, everyone. Robin Thomas in Charleston, South Carolina.
And last but certainly not least, Auntie Dana. Say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody from the snowy DMV.
And I will say hello again, also from the DMV. We're going to have a really, really great conversation on tonight. So, we have some amazing questions that were just, I say, hey, listen, what better people to ask, okay, than the amazing NexGen team, okay? Absolutely. So, I am really excited that, again, we are here and we're going to get some of these awesome questions answered. So, go ahead. I'm gonna pull up the question, and I will say the first question. Let's go to Auntie Dana, and we want to know what is defined or what is considered to be your net worth.
Okay, with, I did some research, and when they talk about net worth, what they normally mean is anything you own minus what you owe. And in some financial circles, that does not include your primary residence. So your net worth is the compilation of what you own, like houses, cars, furs, stocks, bonds, those types of things, minus what you owe. For example, a car loan, a student loan, credit card debt, those types of things. So that's what I would consider net worth. And again, a lot of times they don't, in financial circles, they don't usually consider, they do not include your primary residence.
That's so good because it's really good to define what we're saying. And if you guys go back per our last one of our more recent videos, that we talked about the difference of net worth and the value of who you are. So make sure you guys have checked that. It's a really, really great video out. So Damon, listen, if you guys don't know, this is your first time tuning in. We're glad you're here. But Damon, he's on the team, an amazing, okay, real estate, okay, just absolutely awesome and doing some big things. And so, Damon, maybe help us out. Me as a millennial, why do you think that people are struggling financially? It's so many things happening, but why do you think people are struggling financially?
I would say, looking at it overall, it's I think some of it would be generational. We learn from what we've seen from our parents. Our parents learn from what their parents, um, and we've kind of always seen this, uh, like living paycheck to paycheck, stuff like that. We've always seen it growing up, and sometimes it's hard to step outside of that box and step out that comfort zone and start doing things a different way because it's what you grew up with and what you've seen your whole life. Sometimes it's hard to be that one person that goes the other route from what you've seen or what you've been taught um, your whole life. Learning different ways to do things is a hard thing, but I definitely think that's part of it. I know, especially speaking for me, that's part of it. That's what I've seen my whole life as far as my family, parents growing up. Um, and when I came into my own, I started doing things a different way. And initially, to step out on my own, start doing things a different way, it was hard. But it ended up, the more I learn, the more experience I get, the more I can pass it on to other people also.
That's really good. That's so good. Auntie Dana, you be able to add on to that? That was really good.
Well, yeah, of course, Damon always gives the really good responses, so I appreciate that. I think for me, going to school, and I'm speaking from a boomer's perspective, is when we went to school, we were taught patriotism, and basically we were taught to take care of someone else's business. We weren't taught on how to actually grow wealth or the types of things that we would need to know as far as financially. My parents were in the military, so and then I eventually went into the military. So when I went into the military, my deal was to um, keep your nose clean, if you will, and to get the next promotion. So my sphere of influence was we all knew what we made and we all knew our resources. And so the paycheck to paycheck thing was basically a normal way of life. It wasn't, it was not unheard of to be scrimping and not growing your wealth. So when we start moving into the next years where things get a little bit tighter, because I don't think we receive that education, then the financial struggle will actually magnify itself when we're not doing the things that we need to do.
That that's really good, and that can bring us even into the next question that we have of how is having poor money habits, how is that detrimental to you growing your net worth? We just defined what net worth is, what it should be, but how is having, here at NexGen, we're all about making sure that you're understanding what generational wealth is. So how is having poor money habits, how can that be detrimental to your net worth?
Well, I can only speak for myself. As far as being detrimental to the net worth, I think I don't want to say growing up, but when I started working, net worth was not my focus. It was not our family focus. It was income. So sometimes news or we read about things, they kind of mix up income and net worth. We were concerned with being able to pay our bills. We were not concerned with net worth. When people talk about wealth, they always equated it to income. So because these things were conflated, um, there was we didn't define it. So if you didn't define it, you didn't work toward it. So there was no reason to go to it. And so I don't know if Damon might be able to add some other stuff to that.
Exactly what you said. Same here. We never really thought about wealth. We always think about income, what we can afford right then and there at that time, and if we can afford it down the road, maybe a year. But that's exactly right. And like I said, with more experience, the more learning you get, the more financial knowledge you get, it kind of changes your thinking. As same thing you just said, changes your thinking and what you think of as wealth and income also. So Another thing to go back to your question would be spending above your means, not having a budget, always trying to get the new stuff, latest and greatest, even though you can't afford it. But you see that, okay, I only have to spend $15, $20 a month, and you think that's some may think that's good, but a couple years down the road, you done paid for it like twice. Some
Mm.
things we got to start thinking about that type of stuff, which we don't because we were never taught to think that way. But as we get older, we're definitely starting to.
That's really really good because that even goes into the next one. This is hope you guys have shared. This is already a really really great conversation. Of what it means of us keeping up with the Joneses. If you heard, we've heard that statement or terminology before, and what Damon just literally just said is that we're not saying that wealth. Auntie Dan just said we're not saying that wealth because we are trying to keep up with something that really is fictitious. I know from a millennial point of view, if we put the little asterisk, that these views represent the person of Ariel and not the views of NexGen. But I truly believe that as millennials, we have been taught to be consumers. I can just say it for my generation. Listen, I just truly think that we're often taught of what we see, and so we very acclimated to what's on Instagram, what's on Facebook, going to the next place, going here, going there, and we're taught and often that we're seeking, and we're really like, what's next? I want, and it's like a I want and I'm going to have. But if that I want and I'm going to have is going to produce you in a place of debt, is going to produce you in a place of unhappiness, is going to not produce any of that generational wealth that we are always talking and learning about, that's really not going to be beneficial for you. And just like Damon said, down the line, down the road, you're going to not be in too good of a spot. So, I can just say it's much more than just trying to keep up with things, because those are depreciating things. They are not going to add any value. We like things. Listen, I raise my hand. You can like things, but allow things not to have you, and allow things to be like, okay, this is nice, but don't let it overtake you so much so that you are finding yourself in not too good of a position, financially, mentally, all the above. So that was really, really good. So we're not going to be keeping up with anybody, Joneses, Judy, anybody. Okay, we're going to be out here and we are going to be marking and knowing our generational wealth and rocking out. So I think that's really, really good. It's so good to have Auntie Robin with us. So I want to know from you guys on the panel, Auntie Robin, the Boomer Babes. I'm gonna pick on them for a moment. What are some good money habits for increasing your net worth? What are some things that we can be able to do to say, hey, this is how I can increase my net worth? Ladies?
Well, what I was going to say when Robin unmutes herself is that don't, as a millennial, don't beat yourself up too bad, because we have been marketed to 24/7. If someone had told my 20-year-old self that I would pay $1,000 for a telephone, I would probably hit him upside the head. So I will tell you, you are marketed to 24 hours a day.
Mhm.
So I'll just turn it over to my esteemed colleague.
Not only that, and you're correct, Dana. And in addition to that, you go back to when you and I were coming up. No, not quite, but back in the day, let me say it that way. We didn't per se look at a lot of the brand name stuff and the actual. Our parents lived off of income, and so we knew, as your mom used to tell you, when we go in the store, don't ask for nothing. We're on a budget, and this is what we get. Well, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Today, these little children will have a hissy fit and get whatever they want, and their parents are okay with it. Not a good thing. You can't give them everything they want, and then as they get into adulthood, once you decide that your income isn't the way it is, and now you're telling this child no, it's going to be difficult because you've been doing it this way all this long. Why change now?
Well, you must have lived on the rich side of town because we weren't allowed to go into the exchange, so we didn't go into the store to even ask for anything. My mother, she made our stuff. We didn't get the store bought. Now we have what we call layaway. Do they still have that now? I call that delayed gratification.
Yes. Yes.
And that's where and if you didn't have the layaway, then if you were big time, then you got a credit card, and then what you do is you would get the clothes. You buy the clothes. That's up the opposite of layaway, and then you would pay the card off throughout the year. So you go back down to a year balance, a zero balance. Now the good thing about that was at one time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Robin, you could write off the interest of not only your credit cards but also your car. So any interest that you paid, you could write it off. And I don't know why we were in such a big hurry to write off stuff.
And that's so true. Because a lot of times, once you write something off, believe it or not, you're taking it. That means that particular $5,000 is really no longer on your credit. So instead of having a $10,000 credit, line of credit type situation, now you only got 5,000 because you didn't close that account and it's done and done.
Wow. That's this is so good. This is so good. And I want to be able to say, understand that you guys, hopefully, those that are watching and those of you who are watching the replay, that you are hearing what we've seen and what can be done better. So I would love to know really quickly of why people we're talking about wealth and income. And guys, forgive me if I asked this question, but I don't think I did. Of confusing the two of wealth and income. We're just seeing how those two things those lines often get really blurred. So those that are within our audience, why are you thinking that there are some that are confusing wealth and income?
Well, I will tell you, they're not confusing it at all. They're being, in my personal, this is the opinion of Dana and only Dana, that this is done intentionally. If you are concentrating on your on your net worth and your wealth, you probably wouldn't be buying the things that you purchase because you will see them as depreciating assets. But you will not have any challenge with increasing your income because you feel that that's something that you're in control of. So why in the world, and forgive me, audience, if I would want to buy multiple sneakers when I only have one set of foots? I'll turn it over to my esteemed colleague.
I would say to add on to that, I would say it comes from a lack of knowledge too, just knowing what the difference is. Basically, we still think, well, some people still think wealth is wealth is actually owning what you own. Some people still think wealth is because I financed it, it's mine, but it's not actually yours yet until it's actually paid off and finished. So I just think it's a knowledge thing also.
Yeah, definitely. And people also look at wealth in terms of, for instance, I had read a thing the other day about, I think it was Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaquille O'Neal put it perfectly. He says his children are not wealthy. He's wealthy. His children didn't earn not one penny of that money. They need to get out and get a job and earn their own. You can't forever live off of mine. And so again, you look at what are you worth to a child? My daddy got it, so I got it. That's not always true. I'm going to provide to a certain extent once you get 18, 21, however it goes. Am I really required to provide? If you're not picking up the things that I taught you, or you see, you, as the old folks used to say, you see me struggle so you don't have to struggle. Okay. But if your intent is to live off my wealth and not do anything to increase your own, then you're defeating the purpose. Because again, they go back to I'm entitled to it. You're not entitled to anything that you haven't worked for.
Isn't that because I was going to say on the biblical sense? Isn't that why they was talking about? And forgive me if I don't know it off the top of my head. It's your children's children instead of your children, because if you um, whatever you create and you give to the next generation, they could actually deplete it right away. So it's, I think Robin brought up a very good point. Not only do I work on generational wealth, but I also teach my future generations on how to grow it even more, not to deplete what I've and my husband have built.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's really good because that goes into our next question of topics such as this of wealth income can be a little uncomfortable. Okay, little uncomfortable. Everyone doesn't love to sit and to talk about, because now you're talking about your decision, your choice, what you're saying, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. As a millennial, I don't have any children as of yet, but I have some god kids and nieces and nephews, and all they're enough in and of itself. So but being able to sit and to discuss, even from the viewpoint that I can, of what wealth and net worth is and their value in addition to that, it's not comfortable to say, okay, this is the, what you can have, or this is the amount that's set. I think I even saw the other day, it might have been on a commercial, that now, as even as children are concerned, about, I think it was Chase or some bank, that was now allowing for children to be able to understand financial literacy and have their own card. I thought that was really amazing. I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, I love this because it teaches them, okay, you get a certain amount, then what you do with that certain amount, you're going to save X amount, then you're going to be able, you have your card to spend, you can't spend any more than what's on your cart. So it's like certain things that's uncomfortable, just like Auntie Robin just said, of being able to, in this gimme, like, okay, you can have it all. That's not reality. And so I think that really is good that you guys are hearing them say, this is not reality. Okay, you can't always have. Okay, that's not that is a false sense of hope that I can always, this is always, I'm gonna always have this. So this is really, really good. It's always not a discussion that will be comfortable, but it is relevant for what we are doing. So whether you have children, whether you have grandchildren, great grandchildren, have this conversation. You might even have to play this YouTube video. Like, do you understand what net worth means? Do you understand when grandma gives you, $10? I know for me, I was brought up in that, okay, you get $1, and then I know that 10 cents for me, as a believer, okay, 10 cents that goes to the Lord, then the rest, you can go wherever you buy your candy, whatever else have you. So teaching those principles, I think, are really, really great. And so it can be uncomfortable, but it is purposeful. So I would love to know from Damon, and as well as Auntie Robin, I want to be able to understand, what does having, excuse me, good credit have to do with your net worth? As millennials, we're out here in credit land. Okay, is that something that we need to have? Is good credit is something, we don't want bad credit out here? But what does that have to do with your net worth? Whether Auntie Robin or Damon, whoever would like to go first, but I would like to hear you guys' perspective.
I'll go D.
Ladies first.
Um, Having good credit is something that you will need going forward, especially if you have been, for lack of a better word, hanging on your parents' coattail, or you went through a trust fund and all the money is gone. And so what do you have? How do you show society that, well, yeah, I have money, but at the same time, I'm able to move on um, to another level with that same money versus if I have bad credit and have money, how does it work? It doesn't, because all the money in the world ain't gonna make me give you any credit. What it will do is say $10,000. So you got $10,000 in the bank, and the bank talks to you, and you want to get a loan to buy a house. Excuse me. Okay, so if that's all the credit you have, how can I assure that you can pay it back? You don't work. So where did this $10,000 come from? You know, those are the things the bank looks at when it comes to money going to in accounts. Is it drug money? Is it whatever? You have to look at it in terms of what I did, and can I verify that this is where this money come from, especially for the millenniums, because all they see is drug addicts and young adults doing illegal stuff. They don't look at us, look at you all as serious about, for instance, this right here. How are you so serious about this? Where did it come from? Why did you get started in it? Not knowing that your parents may have brought you up. And I'm gonna add to this just something that I recently ran across. There's a Monopoly game for those interested. It's called Black Wall Street. And it's based on Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how they lost all the money. But it is a very, very good for teaching um, the economics behind credit, having having money, and then how you go bankrupt and have money. What happens next? All right, D, on you.
Yeah, I think you just said it best. One of the things you just said is about you can have all the money in the world, but you can have and still have a low credit score. That credit score is how the financial world, well, one of the ways of how the financial world looks at you and judges you also. So you could have money amount you want in the bank, but you have a low credit score that still says a lot because they want to know, can we trust you? Got it. You have all the money, got it. But can we trust you with paying it back? That's how they look at you. That's what they're looking for. That's how they judging you. So that credit score is definitely a big factor because it's more about trust than your worth or what you have. Can we trust you paying this money back? That's the main thing they want to know. That's what they're trying to find out. And that, like I said, that credit score is one of the ways how they look at you and judge you.
That is so good, y'all. I hope y'all are taking notes. Okay, take out your notepad. This is so informative. So many directions. We only have a few more questions left, guys. I hope you guys have shared this. I would want to know, Auntie Dana, fill us in. We just learned from Auntie Robin and Damon of good credit. What does it mean to pay yourself first? What is meant by saying, hey, I'm going to pay myself first? Is it I'm going to give myself $5? What does it mean when we're paying ourselves first?
Well, when I first looked at this pay yourself first, I often thought it meant to the detriment of the commitments that you made in the beginning. For example, when Robin and Damon were talking about the fact that credit was being good for your word. So when I saw pay yourself first, I thought it was you would take the money and set it aside and not pay the people that you owe. But what I realized is if you did your budget, you actually could do it in such a way where you knew what your goal was, so you knew how much you were going to pay yourself first as far as savings or investments. So again, that goes hand in hand, not only with paying yourself first, but you have to know that you have to still meet the needs of your obligations, and don't create obligations that you won't be able to meet with the paying yourself first. And that's why it's so important to do a budget. I know it may look uncomfortable. You can always pretend it's someone else's that you're doing, but it's so important that you do a budget so that you know what pay yourself first looks like.
I would also say, to add on to that, for me, pay yourself also means to live a little bit. Nothing wrong with living, just like Dana just said. If you put it in your budget and you put that in there, it you'll be a little bit more comfortable with it because you know you have it. You know you plan for it. Number one, that's the key thing, is to plan for it. So I would definitely say pay yourself first. To me, means live a little bit, have a little fun, but also plan for it. Plan to go out to the club, or plan to go out to the movies, or plan to go out, take yourself out to eat, whatever the case may be. But still got to live a little bit and have fun with it.
That is good. Auntie Robin?
That sounds good.
I'm coming. And another thing I'll add to that, Damon and Dana, is that we must also remember, if you make a budget and keep a budget in mind, it's not saying that you can't do the things you want to do. You just budget for it. If I want to go on a trip, I'd say, well, the trip is in August. So between now and August, I need $10,000. I know I got to start saving now in order to get the things I want without having to worry about credit cards all the time. Also, I wanted to add that in there.
No, that's really really good. I hope y'all are taking notes. This is good, okay? Budget is not a cuss word, y'all. It is not. We are learning, okay? Oh man, y'all are setting me straight. I know I've learned a lot of things here, but y'all are setting me straight, okay? Which is so good. This is really good. That way, once you have your budget, you'll know when you're paying yourself first. You'll know what you can say. Hey, putting X amount of money for this particular trip. So what I hear is, don't deny yourself. Just understand your obligations. So I definitely hear that. All right, guys, we are sadly at our last two questions. Uh, why are persons comfortable with debt? Now, we just talked about budget and people going on trips. Now, some people have gone on trips, unfortunately, and have gone into debt over a trip. And so people think, oh, I'm just living, but we're not properly planning, like you guys just said. So, what makes people comfortable with debt?
I say the media makes you comfortable with debt. It's not something that you see all the time. The trip, as Robin was talking, the 10,000. I want to know what kind of trip she's going on. The
I'm
$10,000,
going.
but that $10,000 debt of putting on. I think I talked to you about this. There was this. I think it was on Instagram, and this couple was going to all these beautiful, wonderful places, and I'm looking at go. I want to go, but for people to go on those types of trips, they would probably have to go into debt. But again, like Damon says, live a little. You only live once. You want to have the experience. So the media, in all its forms, has normalized. What's the opposite of delayed gratification? Instant gratification. Do it now. Um, if you knew the things that you needed to do to get yourself straight so you wouldn't have to do that, it's not pretty, but it only lasts for a short period of time. So I think that, yeah, I think the media normalizes it because with all of the financial gurus that are out there, I don't know why people are still having financial situations.
That's very true. That's very, very true, because it's a wealth of information. Y'all, YouTube University is like one of the best free things that you could ever get. Like the factor that you're able to get information at your hand is like unparalleled. It's like, oh my goodness. So, the factor that you can do that, it really is something for us to be able to get that information and apply it. I know I can be able to say before the whole world shut down, I was fortunate. It wasn't a dream of mine, but it ended up being I was able to go to Dubai. Now, mind you, 10 out of 10 times that was a trip that I had to plan for. I just couldn't go and say I wanted to go the next day. As great as that would have been, that wasn't it. And so, just like that, you having to plan. I saw the people going up to business class, and I said, well, very well, then I'll be there one time or another, but not this time. I'm going to go ahead and get this good seat that I have right here with the rest of the folks. So, it's just something just as simple like that of delaying saying, hey, I'm doing something that I desire to do, but I'm just going to do it at the level that I can do it. So even as a millennial, guys, be encouraged, just do it at your level. Go ahead and say, if you listen, if you can do this and do the first class, okay, you go with your first class. If it's your coach, we're all going to get there. Okay. Just know that. So make sure that you are understanding that it's okay. Whatever level you are at, it's quite all right. Don't feel like you have to keep up, like we said earlier. All right, guys. Our last two questions are let me see. Oh no, my our last one question. Um can your net worth increase if you have not or do not increase your income? Can your net worth? I would like to hear from all of our amazing panelists. Starting with whoever would like to start first. Auntie Dana, if you want to go first, then we'll catch it to Auntie Robin. Then we'll throw it over to Damon.
Well, I was going to say there was at least a couple of years where I did not have an income, but my net worth did increase, and that's because of a what we call appreciating asset. So when what you own appreciates in value, so does your net worth.
I'm coming.
Awesome.
Sorry. Go ahead. No. You ready for me?
Oh yes, ma'am.
I apologize.
Oh
yes,
yes.
I agree totally. For me, I wasn't working when I first retired and got sick, but my net worth was also increasing, but it was only increasing a small amount. It didn't bother me so much because everybody had asked, when you retire, how you going to pay for that house? How you going to do the? I already knew what my retirement was going to be. I already knew what my Social Security was going to be. I already knew how much money was coming in. So I can go and not work and still pay all my bills and not lose a step or a penny.
There's not too much I can add on to that. They both knocked it out the park, hit it on the head, the whole nine. But like Dana said, assets. I will key on that. That's a big thing. Liabilities versus assets. Those are two very different things. Assets will increase all the time, over time, and liabilities will not increase. So I'm just say keep it with assets. So yes, the answer is yes or no.
That is so good. That is so good. Yes, I see NexGen now. So we call that planning. Absolutely, absolutely. Wow, guys. This was so great, and I'm not just saying it to say it. It was so many amazing nuggets that I can honestly say, you guys, for a seminar or for a conference or whatever, you would be paying some good coinages, okay, to sit here and listen to some of that same wealth of information that you guys got on tonight for free, okay? for the free 99, y'all got here and to be able to sit and listen. So I am truly grateful. I'm going to give our amazing team, our panelists, last words, but make sure you guys have subscribed to our channel. Make sure you also go ahead and like and share this. Share this link with a friend. You know your friend needs to get out of debt and they want a house and all the different things that they want and desire. This is the way to plan. This is the way to be able to get. If you don't know the information, it's one thing. And then it's another thing when you have gotten the information to apply it and then execute it. So we've given you some great nuggets on tonight. Damon, any last words? And then I'll turn it over to the boomer babes, the aunties.
I would say for me, appreciate it. Thank you for having me. It was a great discussion. I learned some things as always, of course, from everybody on the panel. Last words, I would say, budgeting is not a bad thing. It's not a bad word. Something you need to do, need to know, and you should do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Auntie Robin.
Yes, ma'am. Again, thank you as well for the invite. To the guest panels, thank you for the opportunity. And again, for those listening to the call, be mindful that it's up to you. You can't live off of everybody. As I said before, you have to want it bad enough to make the sacrifices to get it and live with what you got. And that's all. Thank you again.
Thank you, Auntie Dana.
Well, I am so appreciative of you, Ariel, for hosting this live stream. Thank you for our Gen X representative, Damon, who always comes with the wisdom, as well as my co-host and boomer babe, Robin. This is a lot. This is a wealth of knowledge, and that's why we provide this information to you. And as we've said before, net worth has nothing to do with you as a person. It has to do with you achieving the goals that you want to achieve. It's always good to have nice things, but we want to make sure that we do it responsibly. So not only are the Me Inc. series valuable, but also the other videos on this channel are valuable. Whether you're dealing with anything that has to do with mindfulness, or whether you have a situation that you need to have dealt with, that all encompasses the wellness wheel, which brings us to generational wealth. So again, I'd like to thank the panel for their sage wisdom, and I'll turn it over to my hostess.
I love it. Listen, again, this has been great. If I can leave, as my amazing teammates have given great nuggets of wisdom, I'll leave you with this: become and make sure you are surrounded by your answers. On tonight and any other time we've done the lives or whether it's videos, I understand that I'm surrounded by the answers that I've needed. And so each one of these amazing persons have an answer that I am going to need, whether I'm going to need that answer now or whether I'm going to need that answer later. I know that I'm going to need it. And so make sure you have surrounded yourself with people of like faith, of where you're going, where you want to go. You want to be able to buy a home? Of course, I'm going to be there. Okay. I'm going to be, listen, Damon is a phone call away, right? Like, listen, Damon, I want to be able to get my life together. Okay. And so then I want to be able to learn with finances. I'm going to call Auntie Robin. Listen, Auntie, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should invest? Then I can sit there and call Auntie Dana and say, hey, okay, I need to be able to work on my budget. How can you be able to help me? So let's remember that you are, and let's continue to be surrounded by your answers. I truly believe that that God will give you those persons in your life for a reason and for a purpose. And I know they are in my life for a reason and a purpose, and in your life as well. So make sure you share this. We thank you guys for joining us on tonight. It was a great conversation, and we can't wait to see you guys next time. So make sure you have subscribed to keep with all things next gen. All right, we love you guys. Keep winning and stay safe. Be blessed.